Salutations, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. V back with another casted game of Age of Empires 3, and I hope you're craving Mexican, because that is what is on the menu this week. The civilization, okay? Not the food, of course, though I do love a good taco. No, I've been really craving some Mexico gameplay for a while now, and so I've been keeping a sharp eye out for some higher level games, and I finally found one, and I think it's on a map that is really, really good for Mexico, and I'll explain why in a second. But first, the player intros. In the north of the map, playing in the color red as Mexico, we have Blue River, about an 1800 elo player, so pretty high level, and plays predominantly Mexico, if I read his profile right. So we are going to see a guy who knows how to helm a pretty difficult to use civ, especially for legacy players. Mexico can really throw them for a loop with all of the different revolts and just all of the different options they have. So playing as or playing against Mexico can be a bit of a predicament. So we'll see how his opponent does, because in the south of the map, playing in the color blue as the ports, we have Lazarus. Now, I do think Portugal is actually a good civ to go up against Mexico, simply because their timings are incredibly fast, especially that 10-10F timing, which we do not see Lazarus doing. But they have the extra TCs, they have the extra Minutemen calls, and so if Mexico goes for some sort of pressure, Port is one of those civs that they can deal with it a lot better than other civs. And of course, they have really strong Age 3 potential with their units, and of course, they can boom pretty much better than any other civ. I know there's a lot of boomy, turtley civs out there, but I really think that Port is the king. Though I do think the map does favor Mexico. This is Caucasus. Okay, you can see here that the map has an incredibly obvious choke point on this TP line. It has these couple of alleyways. It's got some really nice water play if you want to go for it. But this is a map that Mexico can really choke a lot of their opponents really, really easily. You don't have to put down a lot of infrastructures. You can block with a hacienda here or here, and you've already kind of cut off half of your opponent's land to start, right? And you can take one or maybe even two of their immediate herds. So we'll see. We do see. Oh, never mind. We don't have to wait. Blue River coming down with the very early hacienda wagon. That's at 2 minutes 30. Meanwhile, Lazarus has sent Fetorias. He does have a water deck, which I think is mandatory on Caucasus, whether you are going to go for the boom or you're just going to try to resist with 2 caravels and a frigate. I do think you need water cards, all right? If you don't have water cards, your opponent is going to be able to just run circles around you, because also remember, there's so much beachfront here that ships can come in handy. And if you don't have ships to combat it, you're going to put yourself in a really bad spot. Meanwhile, Blue River, he did send Alhondiga de Granaditas, and he is aging up with Michoacan? I don't know how to say that one. But I definitely think we're going to be seeing early pressure. Now, whether he goes for Baja California, Central America, maybe something even a little bit more standard. Maybe he goes for some sort of insurgente push. Maybe he goes with the Salties and tries to just do a little bit of picking off on the periphery. Though he's probably not going to be able to stop Lazarus from aging up. Lazarus, also a very high-level player, I think around 1850, and has a wide variety of civs. I don't think Port is his main squeeze, but from what I'm seeing here, the macro and the micro certainly looks like he knows what he's doing. He did go with the early trading post, and he did send Fetorias, though he hasn't decided to send a second card. He's not going to send any sort of town militia. He's not going to send whale oil, and I think he's going to probably save that up for 700 coin, and he's getting 2 herds in already. Of course, ports go through a monumental amount of food, and that is kind of their Achilles heel, similar to British, right? They need a lot of hunts, or they tend to just kind of wither and die in their base. So we do see a very, very defensive second town center here, and I wonder if he knows that the pressure is coming. Let's take a look at his perspective. And no, he has not scouted this hacienda wagon. So Blue River does still have the element of surprise, sending 700 wood, and he has villagers on food and gold. So I definitely think this is the macro for some sort of revolt. Okay, it strikes me that he's having a lot of unspent resources here, so he's trying to save up those 3 resources, and we'll have to see what revolt he goes for. Another card coming in. and probably nothing yet. He does have the 10 Navajo riflemen. I love these guys. I think they are a fantastic raid unit. But here comes the revolt, and it is the Central America. So we are going to be seeing some Falconet play, undoubtedly, ladies and gentlemen. That really is kind of the main benefit of this revolt. You can get out a lot of early cannon, and it's really hard for a lot of civs to deal with. Either you have to try to mass Hussars in Age 2, or you have to try to get up to Age 3 and get out Culverins, which neither is super easy. Though, again, for Portugal, you know, they have that second town center. They have 2 batches of Minutemen, and the TC fire does well against artillery, so they might be able to hold out here. We'll have to see what Lazarus does. He's already clicking up with the Exiled Prince, so about a 5-minute, it's going to be closer to maybe 6-minute age up here. And that's actually really fast. If we get it in between, you know, like 6:10, 6:15, that is going to be really well executed. He's got a lot of hunts. He's got a safe gold mine in the back because Blue River is going to be coming from this direction. But Blue River has the artillery foundry down. So we're going to be seeing Falconets undoubtedly 700 coin is hitting the floor. That is undoubtedly going to be funding Falconet production. And look at that. He's got 400 wood exactly. He could queue up 4 Falconets. He could maybe even send another one. And he might even want to send 2 Culverins as well, though he'll definitely need some infantry support to back that up. And we'll have to see what Lazarus does. Has he spotted this hacienda yet? Yes, he has. He has spotted the hacienda, but still has not spotted the artillery foundry. 3rd town center going on the beach. I like this. It opens up the possibility of gathering these fish and these whales, and town centers do really good damage against boats, and he's also going to get another herd of deer here. So Lazarus has been playing this really, really well. And of course, you know, there's a lot of talk about ports being a broken civ, their boom is too strong. And honestly, I would kind of agree. You know, I think Fetoria's is maybe a little bit too good. I think ports, it's just too easy to boom. It's too easy to get out so many villagers and so many units. But again, that's just one guy's opinion. But I don't know, is the boom gonna have enough time? Because in come 5 Falconets at the 7-minute 30 mark. How do you deal with 5 Age 3 artillery at the 7-minute mark? Now, Blue River's really lucky here because Lazarus has decided not to make any other units, right? He hasn't made any Hussar, he hasn't made any Dragoons, though he is sending them and making them right now. I almost think Hussar would be a better idea with the stable. Because, I mean, this is really bold by Blue River. He has absolutely 0 infantry support for these Falconets. So, I mean, even just a couple of Hussar could do a lot of damage here. But, I mean, 5 Falconets are almost their own anti-cav against small numbers. And he's got the not the Salteadors, the Soldados, and in come the Dragoons. And this is what I'm saying. The Dragoons are good against Falconets, but they're only good against cannons in mass. And they are going to be able to take out 1, maybe even 2, but that's like 10 goons. And you did pick off 1 Falconet, but I mean, that is not an even resource trade. And he's even getting the petards now, which I think comes from it comes from the Santa Maria's fire. So now every shipment he sends, he's gonna get an extra petard. And he's already killed 1 town center. He's killed the market. And there are still 4 Falconets. 2 are at full health. 1 is very low, gonna go down to TC fire. But I mean, 5 Falconets for 10 goons and 2 TCs. I don't know if that's quite paid off yet, but Blue River doing a lot of damage here. Nice job here keeping his Soldados. It's so easy to send those guys in and try to pick off Vills, but he's being very smart protecting his Falconets. And now even some revolutionaries coming out. He has 23 villagers right now. Lazarus, even with the pressure, is on 27 villagers. I don't know if that kind of points to just how good Port is. I mean, because look at this. 2 town centers, and they're still in the Vill lead. And it's really only Portugal that can pull off something like that. Sending 3 organ guns here, these could do very well if they're microed correctly, but I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of infantry here to block. And let's see it from Blue River's perspective. Is he going to see these organ guns coming in? He is. They are going to get 1 shot for free, it looks like, but 1 going to go down. And 3 Falcons still versus 2 organ guns. That is going to be in the Falconets' favor. But it looks like the organ guns are going to pick up 2 of the Falconets. So trading 3 organ guns for 2 falconets, possibly a good trade, but again, losing so much infrastructure here. And Lazarus has sent 2 of his big hitters already. He sent 5 goons and he sent 3 organ guns. Now, possibly sending 8 and 7 Castador is going to be his next shot, but he doesn't have the population. He needs to get down a market. He needs to start trading this abundance of food. He's got 800 food in his bank right now, and he's only at 30 for 30 population. And oh, he does have a market. Okay, he needs to be trading there immediately. I don't know why he's not trading food. I think he needs to slam down some houses, maybe even trade for an outpost, but I could be wrong. I am not a Portuguese expert. 1 falconet staying back, getting healed by the Padre. I think that's a great idea, sending the revolutionaries forward. And I think he just wants to keep the pressure on Lazarus. I don't know if he's going to try to go for the 3rd TC, but he's going to continue pressuring. And we did see that Lazarus, you know, he conserved some of his resources. He didn't send all of his Minutemen, but now the first batch of Minutemen are coming out. He does have Town Militia. He could send that, and he does have a frigate, and maybe a frigate would be the best idea now. It would be able to defend this TC very well, but 8 Castadors also going to be good against all of these revolutionaries and soldados. It's going to completely counter what Blue River has. And now the question is, has Blue River done enough damage to justify the own hit he took to his eco? Because this Central America rush, I mean, it really costs you in terms of your own ability to get out villagers and get out resources. More revolutionaries coming down the map now, and Blue River has done an excellent job keeping Lazarus choked up. But now that these Castadors are out, as long as they stay out of the range of that falconet, which is fully healed, it just shows how important that Padre is. All right, I think I remember hearing this from a Lionheart video, but he said many times over, okay, don't waste your Padre, keep him alive so that he can heal those valuable units. And that is proving true right now. And Lazarus, still on 30 villagers, has not put down a dock yet, getting down an artillery foundry, wants to get at least 1 Colv out. He does have the resources and he does have the pop space, maybe even send 8 halbs to complement that. He is. So, I mean, Portugal, not dead yet. It is looking really dire, right? His entire economy is shoved up on this one corner, but Mexico doesn't really have the power to push in here. And oh, never mind, his economy's not all in the corner. He sent a bunch of vills up to gather on this coin mine, 12 settlers, and it looks like Blue River tried to raid with some revolutionaries, and I'm not quite sure why they went into melee. The revolutionaries are going to do a lot better against the vills firing at range. I mean, these vills have 20% melee resist, so maybe, but I mean, at least he knows where those villagers are now, right? So if he gets out like 5 more revolutionaries, I wouldn't even send them down this way. I would send them right over to this area of the map, kind of just start searching this quadrant, because you know those villagers are here somewhere, because if they came down, you would see them with your main army, which has 3 more falconets joining in. And let's see, does Lazarus have a culverin in queue? He does. He does have 8 halbs on the field, but this army right now, until the Colv gets out, is super susceptible to these 3 falcs. And even with just 1 Colv, it's still going to be very vulnerable. 3 falconets can still overpower a culverin. This nice little segment of wall is going to give him line of sight. And let's see if he destroys this first, because if I was Blue River, I would destroy this wall because I don't want Lazarus. Oh no, he already sees it. Man, the line of sight on these walls, does he see it? Okay, no, I thought the walls were giving him like so much more line of sight, but he does not see the 2 culverins yet. And if I was Blue River, I would destroy that wall segment so that I don't give away that I have culverins of my own. I would try to convince Lazarus to be reckless with his culvs, because right now Lazarus is on very limited resources, as is Blue River, and so he can't afford to waste that artillery. And now these revolutionaries doing exactly what they should do, chasing these villagers off, and they're not going to be able to kill all of them, but even forcing them to take this long trek down the map is an excellent idea. But look at that. Wow. Oh my God. While Lazarus is defending his villagers, Blue River going to push in here, see how much damage he can do. And there is no other Colvs in queue, but he's going to have to be very careful. These Colvs are going to race back down the map, and they are going to be in a prime position to attack this open falconet and maybe even these 2 other Colvs. We'll have to see what happens. The artillery foundry is definitely going to go down. Villagers now coming out, and they are going to do well against these artillery. And has Blue River overcommitted here? The collapse, the villagers, the culverins are not unpacking. They need to fire, but in come the halberdiers, the revolutionaries. They're just waltzing around. They're looking for something to fire at. They need to be firing at these villagers. And one culverin going down for Lazarus, but way more artillery going down for Blue River. One falconet down, both culverins down. Another falconet going to soon follow. And yes, Lazarus is losing villagers, but I think he's still going to maintain the vill advantage. 7 Cassadors coming out now, and what an excellent clean by Lazarus. And if I were Blue River, I think my main takeaway there would be I really underestimated how strong Port still is, okay? This is 28ville Port. He still has a town center, and yeah, you killed 2 Culves, but you gave up 5 artillery pieces to do it, and that trade might cost Blue River the game. We can see Lazarus is now in the lead, and Lazarus still has 29 vills to Blue River's 23. Blue River now sending the Fisherman card, which I like. It's going to give him 9 fishing boats and a dock wagon. It's really going to bolster his economy, but the one thing that I'm a little bit worried about here is his water cards are not great. Yes, he could send the Ironclad, but it is quite expensive. And it's possible that Lazarus may try to pressure those fishing boats if he finds out that they exist. Of course, Portugal, a really, really good water civ. So we'll have to see if he does that or not. And it looks like Lazarus has finally stabilized. He's going double halb. He's going with organ guns as well. And the Cassador halb organ gun composition for Portugal is so incredibly strong. It's really hard for a lot of civs to deal with. Because, I mean, halbs are a great unit. Cassadors, of course, are one of the best skirmishers in the game. And organ guns in mass just rip through any infantry that any other civilization can field. And now that Lazarus has free access to coin, I don't know really what else Blue River can do to kind of limit the expansion of Portugal here. I guess the one thing he has is that he did take out 2 of the town centers, and there won't be, a second town center. Oh, just as I say that, I was just about to say, oh, there's probably not going to be. Oh, is he going to kill with the petard? Oh, he almost blew it up with the petard. I was just about to say that there wasn't going to be another town center coming down soon, but he must have had way more wood than I thought, because look at that. Second town center coming down. And now this is actually looking a little bit dire for Mexico. Now, he is mixing in some Chinacos, which I think is good. He needs something to take out the organ guns. He needs something to take out the Cassadors, and going full revolutionary is certainly not going to do it. So if he can get a really good catch with the Chinacos, if he can clean out this army, he could actually limit Lazarus here, and he could actually pick off a lot of vills. There are a lot of exposed vills here, and, I almost wonder if Lazarus would have been better putting the town center more in this area. But looks like the halberdier is going to search, probably going to try to take out this infrastructure. Lazarus knows that Blue River is not sitting on a huge wealth of resources. Most Mexico revolts, you are going to be really limited in how much you can gather. And so he knows that every building he takes out, it's going to be really hard for Blue River to simply rebuild it. So I like going for this infrastructure, though. He wants to make sure that he still keeps enough guys at home, because right now, with the halberdiers away, the Chinacos might play. I mean, there's 10 Chinacos here. They're not the best cavalry, but more in queue, 2 culverins and 2 organ guns on the front line. And we'll have to see what Lazarus's reaction time is, because that Mexican army is now coming into view, and great micro there by Lazarus. He is going to wheel that artillery out of the way. And if he had not been paying attention, he would have lost all of that artillery for absolutely free. Puts the villager in the way. I think maybe he's trying to delay the Chinacos, but they are not going to be waylaid. They are going straight straight in, but the revolutionaries here, they have to target the halberdiers. They cannot waste time shooting at the castadors or the other artillery. And it looks like both culverins going to go down, as well as both of the organ guns. And the Chinacos, there's still quite a few Chinacos here, and 2 halberdiers are all that remain, but the reinforcements are coming along with the Minutemen pop, and this is going to be really nice for Lazarus here. Let's see if Blue River tries to pull out. He did do enough damage, but no, it looks like he's going to commit, and he's going to lose these Chinacos to halberdiers. Maybe a little bit of miss micro there, but at the same time, maybe he thinks he has the castadors cornered, and maybe he knows this is the fight. He has to take more Chinacos coming down, so maybe he's just waiting for the reinforcements here, and the Minutemen are going to go down, and the castadors are left to themselves, and villagers trying to sit out and pop, but 2 more halberdiers. I missed these guys in the south part of the map, and the revolutionaries are going to target them as soon as possible. And a really nice use of the villagers here. Look at how much damage these vills are soaking on this Chinaco. And it is going to save a lot of these castadors, but now the revolutionaries are in range. They're in melee range of the castadors, and we're seeing actually a really even trade. But in terms of being able to replace their losses, Lazarus is going to have a far easier time making up for those lost units than Blue River is. And I think Blue River, he took a really great engagement there at the beginning, but he overstayed his welcome. He lost that huge Chinaco mass that took him a long time to get up. And now with an organ gun out and more halberdiers on the way, as well as a frigate, oh man, and 2 docks to Portugal, man. How is Portugal able to do this, right? Like, he lost 2 town centers. He's been pressured the entire game, and he's still booming. I just don't get it. Portugal, man. Like, Portugal, I love them, but they're one of those civs that just frustrates me, because the fact that they can pull all of this off at the same time, because any other civ, right? You take Dutch, right? They would have to choose, am I going to boom or am I going to defend, right? And Portugal just says, yeah, I'll do both, right? I'll boom and I'll defend, and I'll take map control, and I'll go water, and I'll push at the same time. It's like, frustrating. But there's my port rage. I know Lion spends a lot of time talking about how busted ports are, and I after watching this game, you know, I can't say I disagree with him, but oh well. More halberdiers, more organ guns, a couple of castadors, and this army just feels really undefeatable. And look at this frigate. It's just trailing these revolutionaries. And I mean, the Mexican economy, he's at 39 vills, counting the fishing boats, but compared to the 43 for Portugal, who's also now on water, I don't know, it just doesn't feel great. And I don't know what Blue River is doing here. I think he's trying to return from the revolt, because I mean, he doesn't have a lot of great cards for the late game here. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Mexico players, but Central America really strikes me as an early game kind of rush build, though he is getting a nice little push here on the villagers. Not going to be able to take any of them out though, because Greatcoats has come in for Lazarus. And I mean, his villagers are being pushed as well. And do these guys have Greatcoat? They do not. So the Mexican vills are going to be far more susceptible to raids than the Portuguese ones are. And this Latin showdown, it really looked good for Blue River there. And the first like 7-10 minutes, I mean, he was looking undefeatable, but that one push with the artillery, you know, losing those 5 artillery pieces, it sucked away all of Blue River's momentum. He's certainly not out of the game yet, but I mean, Lazarus, unless he's not looking at all, yeah, I mean, he sees the water now. He's got to think there's probably fishing boats out. And if I were him, I would immediately slap down 2 culverins, putting down a 3rd town center as well. He's on 48 villagers to the 39 still of Blue River. And now he's just taking out a ton of infrastructure. And he has so much siege in this army. I mean, these halberdiers, 36 siege attack. And, I mean, the organ guns actually for artillery are not the best at sieging buildings. They're more of an infantry killer, but he's even now raiding with some of these halberdiers. And yes, Blue River is going to return to Mexico, but what is he going to have to send? I mean, he'll be in age 4, so maybe heavy cannons can save him here. I mean, heavy cannons would do really well, but without any infantry support, I think this many halberdiers could even force down 2 heavy cannons. And now he's going to try to gather up all of these beautiful books. The bookworms! Read! Read for your lives! And then get into the TC because you do not have the villager lead and you need to conserve every vill you have. But these halberdiers, they are taking out so many vills. And now the 2 caravels are on the way, and I bet where is that water flag? It's got to be coming. That water flag's got to be switching. Where did he put it? Yeah, he switched the water flag. So Lazarus doing everything he needs to do. He's now going to attack these fishing boats, and he's up to 53 vills. And these halberdiers, these 5 halberdiers have gotten so much value. I think there's actually 6 in there, but they've killed so many villagers. And now Mexico down to 26. The 2 heavy cannons are here, but 2 heavy cannons against age 3 Portugal with 53 vills. That is not going to cut it. And I mean, Lazarus already has the artillery foundry. He has the frigate. He could fight on the coast. And Blue River is actually building fairly close to the coast. He's not quite in frigate range, but dangerous territory there. And all of the fishing boats are going to go down. I don't think they can garrison within the dock. And even if they could, the dock is going to fall very, very shortly. Building up a wall here and slamming down a market. He's got a lot of resources here, but probably not in the sort of macro balance that he's looking for. And meanwhile, what is he sending? I mean, what can he send? He can send Mayan allies. He'd have to trade a ton of food. He can send Renegade Apache. That would be a nice mobile unit. That would actually do really well against the Halb spam that we're seeing from Lazarus. But even if he wipes out every single Halb, I don't know if that's going to make any difference. I mean, Portugal now has double water control. He's got a TP. He could claim the other 2. He's got 95% of the map besides just this one screen. And now he sees the heavy cannons. He knows they're out, so he could even start slamming down culverins. But he's just satisfied. He's like, I'm just going to keep making bills. I got 3 town centers. He could even start macroing for an age up into H4 himself, though I don't think that's necessary. I mean, how many halberdiers does he have here? He's got 18 over here. He's got another 12 here. And it looks like he's going for the double flank. He even has 2 organ guns, though I don't know how effective they'll be against heavy cannons. They are going to do well against these walls. It's going to mean that he can just rush in there. And the halberdiers are going in. The heavy cannon's going to do a lot of work. The villagers trying to emergency wall, but this is not Age of Empires 2, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot get away with those shenanigans here. The villager's going to try to block, but unlike Lazarus, Blue River cannot waste these villagers. And these veteran halbs are just going to obliterate, and there's more coming from the north. It is 300, except instead of Spartans, it's Portuguese men with long, pointy sticks, and these Mexican cannon are not going to survive. Well, they might survive. One might live, but what are you going to do about the 2 organ guns? And now these villagers, I mean, look at this. They're living in harmony, gathering wood while these organ guns just shoot at them point blank. This guy didn't have a chance. Now we're going to attack the organ guns with the butt of their muskets, but, or maybe those guys are, maybe the villagers are actually carrying blunderbusses because the end of their guns are so wide. I think they're blunderbusses, actually. They got the villagers carrying shotguns, trying to send the Renegade Apache, but he's got 3 vills left. They're all going to work on the outpost, and he's going to lose every vill? Oh, is he going to win the game by killing every single vill? It looks like it, and that's the game. Blue River fighting to the literal end until every single unit was dead, and man, that was the ultimate rush versus the ultimate boom. And Portugal coming out on top. Whatever you think about the Civ, you can't deny that their boom is just freaking amazing. But let's take a look at it in more detail. Ladies and gentlemen, follow me to the postgame. All right, guys, here we are in the postgame. And as you would expect, the resource differential was very much in Lazarus's favor. Almost a 10,000 resource gap. Military even still in Portugal's favor by just a few units. And when we look at the units lost, there is a substantial more number of units for Mexico. And if we go to the timeline here, I really think, you know, the villager count, of course, looks pretty decent for both players, especially since this guy was revolting. I mean, he got up to 42 vills, but then he really started losing him to those halberds and just that constant pressure from Portugal. And look at this. Portugal, even though he lost 2 town centers, look at the control by Lazarus here. He did not lose a lot of villagers in that time period. In fact, he was still increasing in villagers while losing 2 town centers. He doesn't start losing vills until the 14-minute mark. I did not see that in game, but that's actually really impressive. That kind of explains why he was able to hold off the push, because he kept so many of his villagers alive. And then by the end of the game, he's at 67. Port's going to do what ports do. And when we look at the military population, because I want to see the effects, because, artillery, they don't count as more than 1 unit, but the population, I think they're like 5 pop. And we can see, right, Blue River has a huge amount of units when he goes in for that raid with that 5 artillery, and he leaves with only 8 unit population. Meanwhile, Portugal goes from 21 to 10. I mean, when you talk about trades here, that was a devastating loss for Blue River. And this second trade was also not great, but at the same time, Port's lost a lot as well. But again, Port was able to recover those losses. Mexico was not. But still, a really fun game, just a couple of different outcomes, and that would have been a steamroll in Mexico's favor. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Do you prefer the Mexican rush? Is the Port boom too strong? Do they need to nerf Portugal? I want to hear your thoughts. But until the next game, guys, have a great day. Have a great life. See you later.